So we've got an app that can now run on either Xcode or Android, depending on which simulator we use. Even though we just went through the entire process of setting up on Android, I'm going to go ahead and use the Xcode simulator for the rest of this section, just because I love having the Command R shortcut so much. It's really just fantastic. So you can see here now that I'm in the simulator, the Xcode simulator, I get the text, I'm an iOS app, because my index iOS.js says I'm an iOS app. Okay, so I want to draw your attention to something. The app that we're going to build here is going to be 100% platform agnostic. So we shouldn't have to worry about which platform we're on, and we certainly don't want to care about which code base we're working on. We don't want to duplicate the code base. We don't want to have like a folder up here that says Android source and then another one that says iOS source, and have index.ios.js make references to one folder and index.android.js make references to another folder. We wanted to have just one folder of code. That's it. We don't care about the platform. Don't have to worry about anything else. So here's what we're going to do here. I'm going to open up both the index.android.js folder and index.ios.js file, not folder. And I'm going to go ahead and, like before, I'm going to delete everything in both of them. Okay, so both of them are empty here. So our plan to consolidate both of these platforms is going to be simple. We'll have each of these index files render a new component that we're going to create called main. Let's look at a diagram of this approach. So right now, with our kind of the stock way of doing everything, the making use of index.ios.js and android.js, we have two separate platforms, right? We've got our iOS and our Android platform. And if we wanted to do this, if we want to have two separate code bases, index.ios.js might have its own component called, say, sign up. And if we were implementing a app that contained a bunch of posts, it might have its own posts and post item. And then on the Android side, we would also have a duplicate signup.js and a duplicate post.js and a duplicate post item. So two sets of files, one for each platform. What we're going to do here is we're going to consolidate them into something that looks like this. So we're still going to have index.ios.js and index.android.js, but the key is that they're both going to render main.js. And then main is going to decide, it's going to have, say, sign up and post item, whatever other files underneath it. So really, main.js is going to serve as the absolute root, the core of our application. And then the two index files are just going to render main. So we are going to make changes to, one set of files, just one sign up file, one post item file. And these changes that we make are going to be reflected on both platforms because both platforms are just rendering main.js. Okay, so let's go ahead and put this plan into action. And I think once we start writing some code, it will start to make a lot of sense of what we're doing here. So the first thing that we're going to do is create that main.js component. I'm going to create a new folder called src, and then inside of it, I will create main.js. So this is going to be our new, our main component, the real, the root of our application. We're going to start it off nice and simple with just a bunch of boilerplate. So at the top, we'll import React, and we will pull a couple of properties off of that. We'll get our view, we'll get text, we'll get our style sheet, and then underneath it, we'll export a new React class. We'll have just one render function, or just one function, which will be the render function. And then we'll return a view that will have style container. And we'll have some text. I am on both iOS and Android. And at the bottom, we'll set up our styles. And this will have one style for right now, which will just be container, flex one, justify content center, and align items center. Okay, so this is going to serve as, again, the very root, the very core of our application. So let's continue in the next section where we're going to hook up this main.js file to both index.ios.js and index.android.js.